Set in the early 90s, the new Paramount Plus series Sexy Beast is a prequel to the film of the same name from 2000, which focused on Ray Winston's retired criminal Gal, drawn back for one more job by an old acquaintance, Don, who was played by Ben Kingsley. This new prequel tale goes back to the origins of the complicated relationship between Gal and Don as they delve into the dark underworld of London's criminal world and begin working for crime boss Teddy Bass, who was portrayed by Ian McShane in the original film. The first 3 episodes landed all at once. The rest of the season was going to drop weekly. The new show was given a chance to get past the typically muddled introduction of the characters that most new shows have when there's only one episode to look at. And over the 3 episodes, you get into the meat of the story. What it delivers is pretty formulaic gangland material, as best friends Gal and Don are recruited by Terry and find their lives irreversibly changed, with a feeling that seems to be a cross between Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels mixed with a touch of Rise of the Foot Soldier. I get the feeling that had I not already been invested in these characters through my knowledge and love of the film, I'd have found very little to really care for, as the tale sets about introducing names that we knew from the movie and new faces to join the mix. Was there a need for a prequel for these characters? Perhaps not, but the series does try to explore it anyway, presenting us with aspects such as the early encounters and the growing romance between Gal and Dee Dee, and also showing Don's developing instability that led to the frighteningly intimidating character that we witnessed in the film. It does, however, all feel rather generic, but it does get lifted somewhat by the casting picks that portray both old characters that we know from the film and new ones that inhabit the criminal world around them. In the role of Gal, we have James McArdle, who inhabits Winston's character almost perfectly, to such a degree that it's quite easy to believe that the actor is a younger Winston. Stephen Moyer is on wonderfully menacing form as Terry, even if he does choose to make the role his own rather than emulate McShane. Eamon Elliott doesn't quite get the snippy dialogue of Don delivered in that perfect manner that Kingsley did, but he certainly leans into the volatile unpredictability of the role well enough to get by. And as we get to explore the reasons for Don's instability, he does put a lot of emphasis and a lot of emotion into it. Around those core 3, you've got Sarah Green, who impresses us enough as Dee Dee. Tasmin Grieg is always on fine form, and she plays Don's very controlling sister, Cecilia. And then Ralph Brown and Paul Kay put in some strong support turns. All in all, this is nothing particularly new, nor is it anything other than just passable. But when it does deliver with some brutal shocks and hits its pace, it just about works. A lot of what works is down to that central performance from McArdle, who holds the whole thing together enough to keep me interested in sticking around to see how the rest of the season plays out. If you like London crime dramas, it's definitely worth a watch. Adapted from the stage musical, which itself was adapted from the book by Alice Walker, which was previously adapted in a more direct manner by Steven Spielberg in the 1990s, this film sadly suffers by having to strip away the story in order to make space to insert the musical elements, resulting in a film that gave me too little time with any of the moments to really care for anything that happens. The story is set over 4 decades, telling the tale of 2 sisters who were raised in an abusive home, find their lives separated when Celie is married off to a local farmer and father of 3 called Albert, Mr. Johnson. Nettie, the younger sister, is banished and leaves the small community, promising to write to Celie, letters that Celie never gets as Mr. keeps them from her as he abusively controls her life. Jazz singer Shrug Avery comes to town, strikes a friendship with Celie, changing Celie's life forever. The Colour Purple is a powerful story of looking for hope in hopeless situations, and the story covers themes of physical and sexual abuse, domestic servitude, and elements of class and race issues. With so many heavy topics, the book and Spielberg's film hits hard and is brutal and shocking at times as the life of Celie over the decades plays out. Sadly, due to the insertion of the musical numbers, which sometimes, it has to be said, tonally feel awkwardly placed, the story is stripped back to the bare bones, and the film rapidly moves through the decades without any actual sense of time passing. Another powerful moment will arrive, only to swiftly move on and be forgotten. never allowing any of the awful situations to linger or settle, as the film just simply makes way for another song and dance number. You could argue that the music is a way to represent the clutching onto hope and faith for the characters as they are presented with challenges, but this never really comes across well. All that said, the cast are great, and the music, even though it does feel out of place at times, is pretty good. And when coupled with some sumptuous cinematography, the film certainly looks and sounds good. But the sum of the parts is let down by it never really connecting. In fact, if I had no prior knowledge of the story from reading the book, I'd have found very little to convince me to care while watching this film, which is a shame because this is a powerful story. In the end, I felt that this adaptation maybe works better in a theatre environment on stage, but somewhere in translation to film, it's kind of lost its power.